Okay, so here we have the Standard Electric GRC movement. So of note, this is a dual motor unit. It has two synchronous motors. This is the drive motor here, and the drive motor connects into this system of gears, and there's also a secondary synchronous motor here, and this is the correction motor. So with this unit, the primary motor is used to drive the unit, and when you want to engage in hourly correction, what you do is you disengage the run motor and you engage the correction motor. And the correction motor turns this lobe style output right here. And what that does is that actuates this ratchet mechanism located right here. And what that does is that moves that plastic ratchet system you can see right there, and that moves the seconds hand. The seconds hand is on the left of that right there, and the minutes hand gear, which is on the right of that plastic separator in between those two gears. And there is a notch in those gears. So what happens is this ratchet mechanism activates, and that will push those two gears around till they match up with the notches in the gears, and you calibrate the hands so that position is the 12 o'clock position on the seconds hand and the 12 o'clock position on the minutes hand. And we'll see that in operation here in a moment. Now, when you want to engage the 12-hour correction, what you do is you run the correction motor and the run motor at the same time, and that will bring the clock around. I don't recall offhand, to about 5:12, I believe it is, 5:12 p.m. And then it will run normally at that time. And of course, like with any 12-hour correction system, that may lead to the minutes hand being off, but that will then be corrected on the next hourly correction. So in this case, it would be corrected fully by the 6 o'clock hour. Now, if you look on the front here, you can see this brass gear here is the the hour hand output, and it's got this pin on it right here, which moves this arrangement here. And what that's actually doing is that's disengaging. So you see when I'm spinning this correction motor, it's not doing anything. So right now the unit is in that correction lockout that occurs from like 6:10 from like 5:10 until like 5:30, I believe it is, which is why I can't actually manually demonstrate that function. But I'll connect the unit so we can see it in operation here in a moment. I'll demo this function before I reassemble this. I haven't seen too many videos on these movements. The other thing of note with this is obviously the way that these synchronous motors typically are, it's difficult for the motor to spin freely. So obviously if the correction motor is running and it's moving those gears, it's going to want to have a tendency to try and move the run motor. However, they do have an arrangement that allows that to slip so that it doesn't actually have to turn the run motor when the correction motor is in operation for the hourly corrections. And I'll try and see if I can show that. It's going to be difficult, I believe, but I will make an attempt to try and show that. Let's see here. I'm able to show that at all. Yeah, so you can see right there, there's a copper piece that is pushing against a small gear. And what that does is that allows the gear to be normally locked, but when the correction motor is active, it allows it to slip. And there's one of these copper pieces on both the seconds hand gear and on the minutes hand gear. So you can see right there, that one is actually for the minutes hand gear there. And on the right, you can see that gear, basically this one right here, is the one for the minutes hand. And if we look around here, you can see that's the copper. Let's see, you can barely see that. That's the copper piece for the the second hand gear. So you'll notice when this unit's in correction mode, you can kind of hear that ratcheting. That's what causes that. So I'll come back here with the unit operational for a demo of this. Okay, so I'm back with the unit in operation. And one thing I didn't mention was that with the dual motor, the drive motor is a standard 1 RPM motor that you would find in pretty much all of these synchronous clocks. Now the correction motor, as we'll see in a moment, is actually a 60 RPM motor. So it spins much faster than the drive motor. So I've got the unit is in operation now. Take a look down here. We should see the second hand is spinning. And what's going to happen is that ratchet, once we engage the correction, that ratchet, that white thing right there, is going to start pushing that gear in the same direction but at a higher speed. And that, again, is why it needs that copper slip mechanism. So what I'll do is we'll do this a couple times here. I'll show you first, just kind of from the front, what happens with the hourly correction. And the hourly correction lasts for 29 seconds. So, no matter what position the hands are in, it'll correct within 29 seconds. So, it spins, the hands themselves spin at approximately 2 RPM, I believe. And once I get it assembled, I'll show a video on that. But we'll just kind of show it from the front here. the arrangement. The other thing I wanted to point out is, I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear that sort of ticking. That is a normal condition with these because the ratchet mechanism just sits, floats on that gear, and sometimes it makes that noise. So that's not anything to worry about. All right, so here's the GRC hourly correction. So what this is going to do is it's going to disengage the drive motor and engage the correction motor here. There we go. You can hear that ratcheting sound that I mentioned. Okay, so when the noise stops, that means the hands have been corrected. Okay, so it's now disengaged. Now I'll come back here because I want to wait a couple minutes before I show you that again. So I'll come back here in just a moment. Do my best to kind of give you a shot of the internals of this when the correction is in progress. Alright, so go ahead and engage this. And what you want to do is look at that white-gray ratchet system while this is in process. Okay, there we go. So the second hand is corrected, the minute hand is still spinning. And now both hands are stopped. And it's kind of hard to see on the minute hand side, but you can see that notch right there is where it ends up getting stopped. And there's one of those notches in both the minute hand gear and the second hand's gear. Now, the reason why you have to run the minute hand or both motors during the 12-hour correction is because with just the correction motor engaged, it'll get stuck at that notch and it won't ever advance farther. So the purpose of running both motors at the same time during the 12-hour correction is so that when you arrive at that notch and the correction motor can't spin it forward any farther, the run motor will advance the gears far enough that it can engage another cycle. So what you'll actually see with the 12-hour correction is the clock will correct 1 hour ahead, and then it will pause for about 1 minute. And the reason for that is so that the run motor can move the gears far enough, particularly the minute gear. It doesn't really affect the second gear. Particularly the minute gear can move far enough forward that the ratchet can continue to push the minute hand forward. It's very difficult to kind of show you the minute hand side of this because it's due to the lighting and everything else, but it does operate the same way as the second hand there. Okay, so now I'm going to engage the 12-hour correction on the unit and demonstrate that. Alright, so engaging 12-hour correction. Alright, so you can see there the Correction motor is active. Ratchet is in progress. I'm trying to see if I can show you the minute hands gear. So you see those two gears that are spinning in the towards the center there. These two here. The one on the left is the second hand. The one on the right is the minutes hand. Now you can see right now, second hand is spin, so it's in a pause. So second hand is spun forward. Second hand goes around about once on its own, and once that's happened, the minutes hand is advanced far enough forward by the run motor that it can go around another cycle. Trying to see if I can. Yeah, you just can't really see the second hands part. Let me see if I can adjust the lighting here. Correction is still in progress. You can see the minutes hand is not spinning, it's in the notch. Right, they're both in the notch now. Second hand has moved forward far enough to spin again. And let's see here. So you can see right there, it's actuating into the minutes hand, but it has to just get far enough forward. There it goes. So that it can catch again. So that's why, if you look at the correction manuals, you have to, the 12-hour correction can take up to 15 minutes. And that's because of those pauses. So that's pretty much it on this unit. I'll come back with another video once I get it installed in the clock and get everything calibrated here. That's all for now. Have a good night.